What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again. And this time we got round two with Peter of Hypocrisy and Pain. Thanks for being here today, man. It's great to talk with you again.
Hey, great to be here, man.
Yeah,
Hope you're doing good over there.
hanging in there, all things considered. It's great to talk to you again. The last time we spoke, we were focused more on the Pain album and everything pertaining to Pain, but now we got a
Yeah.
brand new Hypocrisy album. First off, I want to say there is no better time for a new Hypocrisy album. I was saying, I was having a discussion with fellow metal nerds. If we could hope for any band to put out an album during this time of quarantine and isolation, Hypocrisy is the band
Yeah.
for it. The first question I wanted to
All right.
ask you about Worship, the new album, is pretty straightforward. The first single that you released, Chemical Whore, is that a good
Yeah.
representation of what the entirety of Worship is going to sound like, or is there a lot more to be discovered on it?
No, I think it's more, with the Hypocrisy album, you get the three elements, fast, mid-tempo, and slow songs. So you have it all. That's for sure.
Okay.
So, but I think the message is pretty good on this one, just to wake people up and say we're back.
Yeah, and being that, this does have a message and representing that Hypocrisy is definitely back,
Yeah.
did you just consider this like an appropriate continuation of End of Disclosure, or is this almost kind of meant to be like do you consider this like a new era for Hypocrisy in a way?
I mean, when it comes to conspiracy theories and stuff like that, I did the whole thing on End of Disclosure. There was a lot of songs about that, Black Ops and things. On this one, I just sing what I've seen or what been looking through, so to say, on certain things. And it just came, sometimes when I sit and try to write something, it pops up all these things. And it's, for me, it's important. I think, I need to sing something that's important to me. I can't sing about things I don't believe in or things that I don't consider very important. So it's very personal with lyrics for me. I don't really look around what other people are writing about to see where you can go further with and so on. It's just anything that comes from there is from my heart.
And I've always loved that because from what you were telling me about Worship, it almost seems like that there was and from listening to like the lyricism and analyzing it, there was a lot of observation that was
Yeah.
involved with it because, as they say, no reality is independent of observation, and I feel like that this is a great representation of Worship. But I know that like you have like an album, for example, like Dancing with the Dead, that I know was from a very personal
Yeah.
experience that you've had. So is it fair to say that like you take inspiration from both internally and externally, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's like, give me all inputs and I'll just, fry it around a little bit and something comes out of my mouth. So, yeah, like I said, it has to be important what you sing for yourself.
Yeah.
First of all, to be convincing. And then if people get into it or they're already into it, fine. I don't mind at all. I think it's cool to have your eyes open. That's the only thing I want to preach about. Keep your eyes open and your brain on.
Yeah. Do you think that with an album such as Virus last year hitting the 15-year anniversary, that almost made too much sense? Or
Uh, you know, how could we know 15 years ago? But yeah, I was singing a little bit about those things as well then. So it's just thoughts.
is there
What I
maybe,
have.
is there maybe like a lot of research that goes involved in like the lyrical process? Like, are you looking at other mediums of art, whether it's through film or literature or visual
Yeah.
art, or like do you tend to like mainly is this mainly like your own perception or maybe your own hypothesis that you're expressing?
No, I mean, I'm a garbage can for interesting things. I go to a lot of podcasts, a lot of YouTube channels, and listen to things, listen to people talking and about things that I think is interesting and shit. So from there on, I kind of have that in my library of things in my mind, and when time comes and I get the right song, it comes automatically out of what I think about what I heard and, make a story out of it.
Hmm. Like, do you consider, because I've always said that there's like a difference between a concept album and an album that's conceptual. Do you almost
Yeah.
consider like every Hypocrisy album to be a concept album in the way, like, for instance, like Worship? Do you almost feel like in order to get the full understanding, they need to start off with the first track being the title track and then end with the track 11 Gods? Or like, do you think that like a listener could approach this album from any different angle?
I think one red line in the whole album is this worship thing. You know, if you're listening to all the songs like Chemical Whore, you're worshiping your drugs, you know, until the end also. So, but also I did like the first abduction case ever known was in 1961 with Betty and Barney Hill. I wrote a song about that, which is called A Bug in the Net. And that's what they said. They felt like they were like a bug in the net. They couldn't get out, you know? And so, I mean, there's a little bit more than only, you know, about criticizing politicians and the society and things like that. Worship, the song itself, is pretty much what you see on the cover. How they're gonna come down and fuck you up because you messed up their planet, you know, that you borrowed.
Absolutely. And I feel like the concept, like the term worship, it almost seems like I actually like get, I don't want to say disgusted because that sounds over dramatic, but like I
Yeah.
almost get turned off by the term of worship whenever somebody tells me that they worship a god or they worship a
Yeah.
celebrity or they worship, like, you're basically are surrendering a part of your ability of
Exactly.
thinking for yourself in order, it basically means you
Yeah.
submit yourself and you submit your free will. Is that kind of like the message that's being conveyed to this?
Yeah, it is. It's about selling your soul for worshiping things, no matter what it is. Um, so, I mean, I don't know what. Yeah, I think I was sitting and writing this cover on a napkin, and when I wrote this pyramid and I put a couple of crosses on top, and I was just like, let's worship the cross. You know, the cross. It's more than a cross. I need it to be alive. It has to be a spaceship. You know. Okay, now we're worshiping the people on the spaceship, and so it just became a snowball effect. You know, of ideas, starting with the pyramid on a piece of napkin. You know, that I wrote.
Yeah. It almost seems like that this meaning is almost both very literal and very metaphorical at the same time. Because what
Yeah,
is worship? And do you almost feel like, because there's no denying with everything that you've done from Hypocrisy to Pain and all the projects you've been involved with, that
yeah.
you worship metal? You sold your soul to metal. Is there an
Fuck
element?
yeah, man!
Do you
I
think?
tell you, after three marriages and three divorces, and still crazy life. You know, that's been my number one thing. You know, the only thing that's more important is my son and my woman. You know, other
Absolutely.
than that, it's always been full on music.
So do you almost feel that maybe this album was also has like an essence of self-reflection on how you, because reading about you, like, there's a difference between somebody who plays metal and somebody who is metal. And I consider you, I'm not like saying this to, kiss ass by any means, but like there's a real
Are you
essence.
worshiping?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
No, but I know what you mean. But there's plenty of people who's doing as much work as I did. You know,
Yeah.
nowadays I really slow down a little bit with taking my time laying on the couch watching sitcoms and shit like that, just relaxing and just being. Whether in the past, for the first 20 years, you just try to work yourself up, until you feel comfortable with what you're writing, and you're not looking anymore for
But
what the hell you're writing or what you want to create. You have it now. So I cooled down a lot though, but thank you.
do you feel that maybe that there was an essence of like self-reflection as well on the Worship album for how much you've, like, in a way, like, sold your soul to the world of metal?
Oh, I did, but yeah, it could be another thing, like you said, worshiping metal. And there's no right. I always been a music fanatic. The first word I ever said when I was crawling around was, pointing at at the radio and just going la 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 la. As soon as I heard music, my mom said I just stopped. I just like, it was something. I guess it's vibrations, that you feel in different ways.
Definitely.
You're more sensitive to it,
When it comes to like thinking of these concepts that you incorporate, whether it is, about personal experiences or conspiracy theories or, through elements of Satanism and stuff, do you think of the concept before you start writing any riffs and any lyrics, and that concept helps influence the sound? Or do you prefer to have some song structures already there, maybe some riffs before the concept sort of comes to fruition?
Well, like I said, when I listen to a lot of people talking about different kind of conspiracy things and stuff like that, you think like, oh, fuck, man, I should write a song about this. And you try to remember it when you have a song that you think, you need lyrics for. So I think it goes also in the library somewhere in your head, and it just stays until it's time to come out. Mm-hmm. So the only song I ever did that I had lyrics first was Party in My Head with Pain.
Yeah.
I wrote all the lyrics before, and then I put music on top of it. And that's how it came out. That's one of the few times I ever did it like that.
Mm-hmm. And when
otherwise, it's got to be music first, and then I have to sit and think, okay, what is this? What am I listening to? And then my brain start working.
And of course, being that Hypocrisy has such a great set list or a great catalog, and such a massive catalog and so many years worth of material, when you're putting a set list together in the live setting, there's people who want to hear stuff off of The Fourth Dimension or Abducted or The Final Chapter to now. Do you feel that maybe when you're making a set list together of songs from different albums, that maybe changes the context of the material in a way?
You mean for the concert itself, or?
Yeah.
I mean, some songs have a lot more slower songs that are more hits for us. So if you take too many of those, it's going to be a slow set for the whole album. So you have to, first of all, almost like go through every album you have, and which are the two best songs of this album, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And you have to consider also you did a video on that, so it feels almost like a single kind of thing, And when you sit with 23 songs or 24, you go like, okay, no, not that one. Yeah, that one, not that one. And then you look like, okay, now it goes like a roller coaster in the feeling of the show. Now you have something. So sometimes you don't play the right songs because you need this flow in the concert. So then you do it with another album instead. But I don't know. We did also like vote your 10 best songs of Hypocrisy. We did that for one tour. I can't remember when it was, if it was 2013 or something like that. So all the fans could give us a top 10 or top 15 of all the songs. And I think we played all top 10s or all 15 of them on a tour, plus more. So
yeah, you got to do that again.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to come up with that later as well.
Well, next year is the 20-year anniversary of Catch 22. Is there a chance that maybe we could bring out a couple deep cuts off of that album, or maybe celebrate that anniversary?
That could be cool, man. I mean, I remember when it came out, people were crying like babies. What the hell is this? But nowadays they go like, oh, I used to hate this album, but I love it now. It's so cool. I guess people weren't ready for this punkish, pissed off style that we had in the sound and in the attitude of the riffing and vocals.
Yeah.
But I think it's a cool album. There's a few not so good songs, but there's a lot of cool fucking riffs and good songs in there. They're like very aggressive, I think, punkish.
Absolutely. And it's fair to say that one thing that I've always found fascinating is the fact that you have these external sources of inspiration, such as conspiracy theories or historical references or spiritual sides, but you also bring in your personal element to it. Is it because you relate to it, or is it almost like maybe you're singing about your interpretation of something?
No, I can relate to a lot of stuff that I'm reading, and a lot of stuff I believe in, a lot of stuff I think is bullshit, but when I write about it, it means that I believe in one way, and then it becomes personal. And then when it becomes personal, you really can hear people can hear when you sing that he really means business, you know, and it's not just singing words.
Yeah, because I've noticed that Mastodon did that a lot, where they always bring in, like with every album, like "Crack the Sky" is like it's
Yeah,
about Rasputin and Russian history, but it's also about Brondaler's
yeah,
sister who passed away. So like to bring in a personal
yeah,
aspect with a historical reference has always been.
yeah.
Has there ever been a concept that you haven't explored yet that you've always wanted to explore?
No, not yet, I think. But you know, you never know. As soon as you turn around, you have a new idea. So um, let's see what the future bring. You know?
Yeah, of course. I think that there's a lot more to be discovered, and who knows what's in today's day and age. Who
Oh
knows what
yeah,
the world is going to bring?
yeah,
So, and
yeah. I mean, a lot of people freaked out on Chemical Horror. I saw some comments that were going, "Oh my god!" And some people were like, "Oh, anti-vaxxing." I'm like, "What? It's not about fucking vaccination, you idiot."
yeah,
So, you know, a lot of people started. Well, it was fun to see the people responding to them and just pressing them down like dirt. That was fun. But I mean, I think it's good to have bad reviews and good reviews because then you see people care,
yeah,
you know, and they take it very personal. So I think it's cool to have an argument
yeah.
about things,
I think the
stir
strongest,
up some shit, you know.
well, the best art always starts discussion. That's
Yeah,
what makes. That's why it continues to be talked about. Like, if people weren't
yeah,
talking about Caravaggio's paintings from the early 1600s, you think they're going to talk about it nowadays? Like, I think
yeah.
discussion is part of the art.
Yeah,
The
and
art.
probably the artist himself, he has no clue what he did. He just went chup 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 chup, and with his heart, you know, and then all suddenly, poof.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And the fact that you actually like reading people's interpretations of it, that also maybe has to influence you as well, right? Could maybe somebody
yeah,
else's interpretation alter the way you looked at a song when you first originally wrote it?
yeah, 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 definitely. I mean, sometimes it's like when someone start talking about it, and you're like, what? No, and then oh yeah. I mean, you can be influenced so much about what other people are saying and stuff. So it's for me. That's why I like living in the woods. I have no communication with too many people. You know, I only go out and look for what I'm interested in at the moment, and that's where I will be.
Of course.
Till I had enough of that, then I move over to something else. So
Now, I talked about 10 years of Catch 22, but or 20 years of Catch 22, sorry, but last year
yeah,
was 20 years of Into the Abyss. Just going down memory lane a little bit, what was sort of like the
yeah.
thought process behind Into the Abyss, and what was sort of being explored in the year 2000? Because was like Y2K maybe kind of like an idea, an inspiration going into a new millennium?
It was actually we thought the previous albums been a little bit too soft, so we wanted to spice it up a little bit, you know. Therefore, uh, Legion's Descent. There's a lot of fast, brutal songs, you know, like from the first couple of albums in that kind of way, because we thought we got too soft. So, but also we got Fire in the Sky in that album, which is more commercialized, I would say. So it was a mixed feeling. But I remember when we started recording and writing for it, we said, let's do a brutal album.
Hmm.
And that's what you got, I think.
Most certainly. I still consider it one of
Yeah.
the most brutal Hypocrisy albums.
Yeah. I tried to actually to remaster it actually last week because they're going to reprint some stuff. And it was very sharp guitars in that production, I tell you. It's like fucking, I don't know, motor saw.
Yeah.
I tried to clean up a little bit because I didn't have the original tape, so I only could go from the CD. So I hope it's a little bit more nice to your ears.
Yeah, I do get arthritis every time I hear those riffs, just because I
Yeah,
can only imagine how difficult it is to play that. Do you think
Yeah,
do you think that experimenting with pain as well? I believe I asked this when we talked about a party in my head last time we spoke. But with putting out
yeah.
new stuff with pain between the last Hypocrisy and now, did that also maybe open up new technical ideas to incorporate in worship as well, or do you still try to use like a completely different set of hands for everything?
Uh, well, first of all, I tried to get organic sounds, real sounds in Hypocrisy on the new album. I didn't want to do these laptop productions they hear nowadays. Everybody has the same snare or the same kick, same guitar sound because everybody's using the same plugin, and they cut the shit out of it so it sounds machinery. I wanted to keep some humanity in it. Uh, when the guitars were not super perfect, when they start being a little wobbly on each side, when you can hear, it actually opens up the sound more than try to be tight as fuck, on guitar riffing. So a lot of guitar stuff that I played, I wasn't concerned that it wasn't 100% because if it's 100%, it gets so small because it gets so tight played. Because I always play four guitars at the same time, what you hear in the music. So when they start getting a little off, the sound just gets wider, and I prefer wider sound than super tight sound.
I
So
agree.
that gave it also more human touch to it.
Yeah, I love that term wider sound because, I mean, not to pigeonhole Hypocrisy, but, people
Yeah,
characterizing you in that sort of melodic death sound. I feel like,
yeah,
sometimes the melody does get a little too sharp and a little too crisp, and it almost feels like
yeah,
you're listening to like a guitar demo in the middle of a song. But the
yeah,
wideness, I mean, every Hypocrisy album feels so full. Like I don't think it's very
yeah.
hard. Like I don't think you even have to be a massive death metal fan to understand that like a Hypocrisy song is very indulging. It surrounds you, I feel.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we're writing with our balls, and our heart. So something's got to give.
Yeah.
So hopefully, people can get into the same idea we have when we try to create songs,
Yeah.
just to get on a journey or something.
That should be your slogan for Hypocrisy. We're writing with our balls and our heart.
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
That could be a great slogan for the future. I think you should use it before it's taken.
Okay.
Now, obviously, when it comes to learning about this material and learning, exploring these different concepts and stuff, do you also learn maybe a thing or two about yourself? Does the release of every Hypocrisy album make you discover new things about who you are?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's more or less discovering how to write new songs with the same kind of feeling. Uh, it takes some time of being creative because I'm very picky. I don't want to sound like the same album, the previous album, and so on. I want to. I just want to make better songs with Hypocrisy. I don't want to, reinvent the wheel or anything. It's just Hypocrisy is Hypocrisy. Let's try to write good songs because that will win in the end. I mean, it took us 20 years to find our sound, our Hypocrisy sound. So that was very important to keep.
Yeah, but not even though it took 20 years to find your sound, you're not at all like it's not like you're neglecting from what we heard on albums such as the first couple of albums or like the Fourth Dimension or something like that. You're not like saying that that's not who we were. It's not like you're gonna look at the Fourth
No,
Dimension
no, 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 no.
or Abduct and say,
Definitely not. I mean, the two first Hypocrisy albums was very influenced by Morbid Angel, Deicide, Entombed, and things, and that's what we wanted to play. So we started writing these two albums like they are, and then after that, I wanted to start to develop as a songwriter. I saw a keyboard in the studio. I never even touched the keyboard, and all suddenly I started doing this Apocalypse and Fourth Dimension melody on the keyboard, and all suddenly everything changed.
definitely. It always
Yeah.
the greatest new sounds were always discovered by accident.
Yeah, but if you listen to another song like Reborn on that album, it sounds like it could fit on Penetralia, or more Penetralia than Osculum Obscenum, I guess.
Yeah, and thank you for saying those albums. The reason why I didn't mention them in my last question is because I always have a hard time pronouncing them.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
No, but I mean, all the things we've done in the past, you got to be proud of. You know, this is what you knew then when you were doing the thing and you were believing it. And then the next album, same thing, but a different time. So that's how it is.
Definitely.
At least for me.
Yeah.
I don't try to look around, oh, what's hip, what's in right now? Okay, let's try jump on that.
But
we don't do that.
But has there ever been a time, and I'm sure every artist has done this before, though, where you look at like the concepts or stories addressed in earlier material or even the riffs and be like, oh wow, like well, I can't believe I was thinking that at that time.
Oh yeah, many times, you know, like, well, where was I in 90, 91, 92? Trying to create the coolest death metal band in the world. And anything I had in my mind, it came up. And it was good to go, you know. The performance from us, I'm glad we're better musicians today. So other than that, that's what you were believing in those days. And that's why it sounds like it does. So there's nothing to look back at in a stupid way. I mean, I just started playing guitar. I just riffing before I could play guitar, you know, try to find riffs. So I did it the opposite way, but this is how you learn.
And the final question I wanted to ask you is I've touched upon this before. As everybody knows, Sweden is the metal capital of the world, and you know we always credit At the Gates and so many other great bands for this melodic death metal style. But when I've watched or have done interviews with like Dark Tranquillity or In Flames, Arch Enemy, etc., like
yeah.
I don't want to accuse them of ignoring you, but like when I talk about like those scenes, I've never heard like Hypocrisy's like name come up as much in that scene as people reference, In Flames or At the Gates or something like that. I was just curious to, when Hypocrisy first started in the early 90s, like what were you kind of like involved in this sort of death metal scene along with At the Gates and In Flames or The Haunted, or was Hypocrisy okay, you were completely involved in like your own thing?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I live in the woods and I don't really hang around a lot of people, and never did and probably never will. It's not my intention. The only person I was hanging with was Algie from Entombed. He was supposed to sing on the first demo with Hypocrisy, but unfortunately he got back with Entombed at the same time. So
okay, so like yeah. So it wasn't like you were playing at clubs like with At the Gates earlier in the day or something like that.
No.
Being such an isolationist, if you don't mind me asking, like how did you sort of get Hypocrisy's name out there? A little history lesson.
Hardworking, touring, recording albums, and I mean we had a few in Stockholm, like in small clubs that private guys were setting up and stuff like that, and close by, but nothing major, until we went on tour with Cannibal Corpse, Fear Factory, and Desultory in '93. That was a cool tour,
That's a great lineup as well. Fear Factory didn't even put out Demanufacture yet. That's
no, not yet.
Yep, that's a strange. So they were still playing off of Soul of a New Machine, and Chris Barnes was still in that Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, for sure. They Tuned on Mutilated was out, I remember.
Oh wow, that's a hell of a first tour.
Yeah, and then afterwards, Bleeding came out. I remember after the tour when we were done with it. Wow. So, yeah,
hell of a time.
Good times.
Definitely. So before we go, I want to thank you again so much for your time. Excellent part two. Is there just anything else with the release of Worship that you would like to promote? And I'd imagine we'll be seeing you on the road quite a bit, right?
Yeah, for sure. I would say check it out. You might like it. It's a little bit more than just. There's a lot of cool stories in the lyrics. Also, you might think it's interesting or not. That's up to you. It's all my thoughts.
Awesome.
But the album, I think, is cool.
I think you have a lot of die-hard fans who would love to get into the mindset of who Peter is. I think that's why we've been exploring every Hypocrisy album so much.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm not going to be cliche and say, oh, yeah, buy it. It's our best album ever, because everybody else say that. That's why I'm pretty soft. I'll let people decide themselves how good it is and not. So enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Peter of Hypocrisy Worship, coming out via Nuclear Blast this November. This is Alex from Heavy New York.
Oh yeah.
We will see you next time.
Oh yeah.